Ladies and gentlemen, today we are moving through content pretty quick. I gotta get through judicial branch. Every single person. Whoa, it is not that exciting. Here we go. Everyone needs to open up their notebook. I started notes on Friday. We are in the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind, this should be the easiest country for you to learn. How do we feel about it? It's a little tricky. It is definitely a little tricky. Nothing we can't handle, but there are some definitive components that are opposite of how the United States functions, and it's a big component. So let's get through it together. Starting on Friday, we are doing Iran. By the way, in case you haven't looked ahead, that's our next country. All right, so on Friday, we talked about the executive branch, how the monarchy has no power. All power really rests in the prime minister. We talked about the basic structure, that the executive branch is definitely set up different than ours. The legislative branch, we have the House of Commons, which is on the bottom, which has the definitive power. We know that the House of Commons has the nickname of the efficiency. If you don't know that, write it down. Okay, the House of Commons has the nickname called the efficiency. Why do you think it's called the efficiency, Emerson? Yeah, they're the ones actually doing the work, okay? While the House of Lords has the nickname of the legacy. Why do you think it's called, has the nickname of the legacy, Alex?
Is it like passed down through families?
Some of it is, not all of it. We're going to clarify some of that. Because honestly, I thought more of it was. I knew there was a little bit of reform to it, but it's been significantly reformed, but there is still some hereditary base on there. Now, when we talked about the House of Commons, we got to the fact that it is the lower chamber, correct? Hello? Perfect. We got to the lower chamber. We know this is the one doing most of the work. We've talked about how the prime minister gets elected from here. We talk about how the House of Commons puts a prime minister into power and also takes them out. And how do you get taken out of being prime minister, David? Perfect. A vote of no confidence is how we get. Now, how long can a prime minister be in power, Selena? It is unlimited, unless in what two occasions? How does a prime minister fall out of power? Nick? Perfect. There you go. They're no longer the majority and they become the minority, and it switches. Now, we talked about the setup, yes? We talked about how the prime minister sits on this side, the opposition sit here. So just by looking at this photo, not knowing anyone in the photo, we know this person is the prime minister and this one is the opposition, yeah, or the minority. Either or, it's interchangeable terms, and this is how Parliament is set up. Did we get to these pictures? Okay, someone asked me about the Speaker. The Speaker is just doing all the procedural roles. They're just making sure they don't kill each other. Now, Parliament is definitely different than our congressional. Oh, I had a diagram up there, but I erased it. It's definitely different from our own congressional situation. We very much yell-ish, but it's not that common. We mostly groan in Congress. We don't really yell things at each other. In Parliament, they scream at each other and throw paper. They're all really packed in there. Like, it's tiny. Like, look at them. Like, they're all jammed in. Because this building was built in the 1500s. Yeah, I mean, because we have like over 2,000 people here. But yeah, I mean, they're all jammed into this really old building. This is what it looks like. It is. Well, there's chambers and then there's offices. What do you got, Desmond?
Is that paid similar to the U.S. Senate?
Yeah, they get paid pretty well. But that's not where they make their money. I don't care what political party you're affiliated with here in the United States, whether you're Democrat or Republican. Everybody who goes to Washington makes lots of money. I don't care who you are. There is a lot of influence that you can wield in order to make yourself money. No one goes to Washington, D.C. as a Congress member, whether you're in the House or in the Senate, and not makes lots of money. That's part of the reason why they all want to stay there, yes? And they also get wonderful health care. You get a wonderful, wonderful health care, which for you may not sound that fantastic, but as you get older, you'll need it.
Money for the whole family.
your whole family, and like everything is paid for by the country, by taxpayer dollars. Everything is covered. Yeah, it's wonderful. Who also made the healthcare law that grants them all free healthcare for the rest of their lives? They did. And they also voted to give themselves like the absolute best care. So keep that in mind. Anyway, so did we see this picture on Friday? Yeah. What structure is this? Big Ben. It's an iconic figure. This is built in the 1600s. Most of this is built in the 1500s. Anyone here actually seen it in person? Yeah, it's really cool. It's really beautiful. If you go to London, you have to go see it. Now, I did not go into Parliament. I wasn't gonna pay $50 to go walk through it. But I stood on the bridge and I was like, wow. And then I walked over here where there's a park and I said, wow. And then I left. That was my Parliament tour. I did drive by it on a 2-decker bus though, and I was like, wow. And there you go. These are office buildings for government officials. So, I mean, this is the seat of power. We talked about 10 Downing Street, yes? Okay. This is where the Prime Minister lives. You do need to know the term 10 Downing Street. Anytime you hear the term 10 Downing Street, it refers to the Prime Minister. That is where they live. Just like when you see, like, hear someone refer to the White House, who are they obviously referring to right now? Joe Biden, okay? When they refer to the White House, they're talking about Joe Biden and his administration. Yes. Well, yes, I just took a picture. It's just a picture of the front door. It's a 4-story building. It is a connected structure because a lot of buildings in London are the connected structures or the row houses. It's beautiful. Someone was like, ew, it looks like they're poor. Do you really think England is poor? No, with the amount of money they're embezzling from the Russians right now, cleaning up that dirty money of theirs, they're doing just fine. England? Yeah, it's like blocked off. There's no access to it. No. It's just like you can't get close to the White House. Have you ever seen the White House? Yeah, you can't get anywhere close to it. You can't get in. There's gates blocking it all off. This is like a press view. The press pool stands outside it, and when there's a big address, they walk out of 10 Downing Street and stand in front of it. This is like a symbol of power of England. It's also supposed to look approachable, yes? It's supposed to look like a home because it's supposed to be an average citizen of England asserting their power. Do they have enough palaces? Yeah, they're doing just fine. Okay? This is supposed to be a homey kind of component to humble them. What do you got? Sure. House of Lords, did we get here? Okay, perfect. The House of Lords, we know that they're the ones who are just overseeing and they're the ones doing the final approval. We know that they have 567 life peers, which means the Prime Minister appoints someone, the King and the King and the House of Lords have to approve, and then you have 92 hereditary peers. Now, which one gets to put their son in power? Sydney, which one gets their son up next? Hereditary or life? Nope. Sue? Jordan, who is it? Hereditary. So, if you're one of the 92, your son gets to replace you. If you're one of the 567, once you die, whatever you die, it goes back to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister can appoint someone. Okay, which one's more prestigious? Hereditary. Yeah, that means you have a title. Like a duke or some shit. I don't know. What do you got, Emily?
How can if you become hereditary, if
You
someone has a lifetime, can they say?
No, but just because you have a lifetime doesn't mean that your son gets to take over your spot.
How does it become?
It doesn't. Those are coming down. They used to be all hereditary, and now they're only down to 92.
Okay, so it was all hereditary.
It was all hereditary, now it's not. Who do you think these people are, though? Do you think they're like average citizens? Do you think it's a really good doctor at the corner hospital? No, who are they? They're like crazy wealthy people who are buying their influence. My favorite one personally is Tommy Shelby. from whatever it's called, yeah. He buys his way into the House of Lords because he has a crazy amount of money and a bunch of influence, and he buys his way in, and he weighs his influence in the House of Lords. That's what it becomes. Like, there's a bunch of people who are just there because they have a ton of money. Here we go! Judicial! This is brand new. Let's do it. Yes? Did we get here? Perfect. Judicial branch. I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of weird components to this one. First and foremost, you need to know everything is based on common law. Everything is based on common law. Common law is very strange. Because for us, fundamentally, it doesn't make sense. So let me explain how the American system works, and then I'll explain common law. Okay, so here in the United States, we have a constitution, yes? Our constitution, does it list off every law in the United States? No. What it does, because you've read the Constitution, you've had it printed in front of you, it doesn't just state all the laws. What it does is it allows local governments, aka state governments, to create the laws, yes? Once you go to the state house, then they have all the laws for the state of Florida. So on Wednesday of last week, I learned of a new law here in the state of Florida. Actually, I learned about it Tuesday, but I did my research on Wednesday. And I found out that if I have a book that is found to be unsuitable on my bookshelves, I can be charged a third-degree felony. Yeah. So, I don't know what a third-degree felony is. I am not a lawyer. So what I do is I go to Google and I go to Florida third-degree felony. I pull it up. All of a sudden, from the state of Florida website, a third-degree felony is 5 years in prison, or a $5,000 fine, or 5 years of probation. It's nice they kept it with fives. I think that makes it very easy for us to really keep the third-degree felony straight. I know, it's very kind. So, how it happens here in the United States is the Constitution, which is the guiding principle, creates that states can create their own laws. Then the state houses in each state gets to write up a list of laws and punishments. Yes? Perfect. Common law. There is no list of laws. Write it down. There is no list of laws. There are only precedents. So, if I hit Katie with my car in England, okay, I've committed a crime clearly. Do they go look at a list of crimes? No. They go and look at the precedent. So, I hit Katie by accident. They're going to look at another court case where something similar happened and the outcome. Then I, who had a similar court case, will then have the same punishment as that previous person. Okay? So, judges look at previous cases and apply it to the current case. That is the foundation. If you don't get that, you are completely and utterly sunk. Is everyone clear on how common law works? It's precedent. It's like how our U.S. Supreme Court is supposed to work. Is it currently doing this at the moment? No, it's a little shaky, which is why the Supreme Court is causing lots of shifts right now, but it typically works on precedent. This is the impact. You need to know 2 pros, you need to know 2 cons. There are 2 pros to being on common law. It creates a unique culture, distinctly its own. If you go to a country that is a former British colony, do they all kind of have similar traditions? Yes. Why? Because of this common law thing. Second positive, that the laws will change at a consistent rate with society. Now, am I telling you it changes quickly? No, but it's consistently always evolving. Here in the United States, are our laws constantly changing? No. Our laws are literally stagnant. which is why the UK has done a better job with race relations in the UK than the United States has. Why? Their common law continues to slightly move every time they apply. Now, the UK has a race problem. It totally does. Islamophobia is a huge problem in the UK. However, it is doing significantly better than the United States because our law code has very slow to change. I mean, for God's sake, Memphis, 2023. Okay, Sydney. What do you got, Annie? I've been doing it all day consistently. Have not been able to call anyone their correct name. I'm so sorry, Annie. What do you got?
What was the first pro?
The first pro is that it consistently changes at a slow rate. Okay. Second pro. Is that what we're on? Yes? Hello? Oh, okay. Perfect. First con. Okay. There is no unifying, clear answer to the law. So, if you're looking at, like for instance, if I have a book that is deemed inappropriate by the state of Florida, I can get a 5-year probation, $5,000 fine, or 5 years in prison. Okay? It's very clearly stated. With common law, no, this is real. It goes into full effect in 3 months, by the way. If I am in England and I break the law, I have to look at different situations. The judge will look at multiple. There's 3 judges that look over every case. They sit in a little room and argue about which one is this the most similar to, and then rule off that. That's the difference. Okay? The second con. Okay? The second con is that there is no ability to do an overhaul of the whole thing. There's no ability to fix a huge problem. They have to slowly work through it. You can't say, oh, this isn't working, or the whole thing falls apart. Desmond.
So, if like train a lawyer in litigate, like, do they memorize both
Yes.
cases and that's it?
You know how when you get to the Supreme Court, they call up like previous cases? Well, in this case, we did this. In this case, that's how everything is done. So if you're going to be a lawyer here in the United States, you essentially memorize the legal code for federal and your state. That's how you become a lawyer. You essentially memorize it and the different types of codes and stuff and what they actually mean and how they get interpreted. In the UK, you memorize court cases and the guidance that comes from those court cases. Grant.
Do they have trial by jury?
No. You have trial by 3 judges who sit there and debate the case. I mean, you have a lawyer who represents you and they interview witnesses and stuff like that to get a better understanding of the case. But no, it's not trial by jury. And then a weird thing is, in England, another difference is that you're guilty until proven innocent. Yeah, in court, you stand in a cage. Did you ever see the Brittany Grimier while she was in Russia? She stood in a cage in the court. Yeah, which is totally the opposite of how we feel here in the United States. Anyway, okay, another thing you need to know. The Supreme Court is created in 2009. 2009. What year were you born? Yeah, so in your lifetime is the creation of the Supreme Court. Isn't that mind-blowing? Because keep in mind, Parliament was created in 1215. England, as a dynastic rule, starts in 1015. In 2009, they get a Supreme Court. You need to know the Supreme Court has no judicial review. What is judicial review, Britt?
It's when like the Supreme Court can call something unconstitutional.
All right, okay, because they don't have a constitution in England. What you're saying is correct, Britt. But when you say unconstitutional, they don't have a constitution. What does that mean?
It just means like they can like say like the law is like it's not like common law.
Close. You're close. Desmond?
If Parliament passes an act, they can't say, hey, you can't pass it.
Yeah. They have no judicial review, which means they can't say a law is not fair. They cannot say that because if it passes Parliament, then it has to be fair in their eyes. Because Parliament has 1,100 people in it. So if 1,100 people agree with it, then it has to be fair, which is their belief. So if it's passed through Parliament, then it's obviously fair, okay? Which is why they have no judicial review. That's a huge change from the U.S. system, okay? They have no judicial review. So if they have no judicial review, they have officially no what, Jimmy?
No constitution.
Well, no, we knew they had no constitution because they have multiple documents, right? The Magna Carta, the English Bill of Rights, and they have a bunch of other documents. They have no what? They have no checks and balances on the legislative branch. Write it down. Why don't they have checks and balances on the legislative branch? I just told you the answer. Why don't they have it? Caesar?
Because they can't tell them that a law they passed is like,
Because why? You're completely right, but I'm going to push you. Why? How many people did it have to go through?
Because they have to go through 1,100 people, so that's
It had to go through 1,100 people to get from those types of majority. It has to be clearly fair. Desmond.
So does Parliament only pass like economic things like that laws?
A little bit, yeah. They also do pass some of the components of like what you think of as like laws. They do like big picture laws. They don't do the tic-tac laws. Like they're not going to change the fines to jaywalking or something like that.
But like, so who do, who do you declare wars?
Yes. Parliament, Prime Minister goes to Parliament to declare war. They are the ones who get to decide. There's a movie called The Darkest Hour about Winston Churchill. It's really, really good about his, have you seen it? It's really good, would you agree? It's shocking how much alcohol that man drinks, and you will see it is the correct amount. I mean, he drinks a bottle of champagne every morning with breakfast and 2 beers every morning, and by the end of the day, he's drank a whole bottle of whiskey. Like, the amount of alcohol the man consumes, it's just, like, astronomical. And he's just smoking cigars nonstop. And his favorite way to take meetings was sitting in a bath.
This is real life.
This is real life. Like, many reports.
This is like a really severe alcohol.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Who never stopped smoking a cigar. He almost lit his house on fire an innumerable amount of times because he would fall asleep with a cigar. Like who's considered like the hero of Europe and all that stuff. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyway, moving forward, you need to know the term de-evolution. De-evolution is the real responsibility of the Supreme Court. Is this a new thing or an old thing in UK? Hello, judicial branch, Supreme Court, new or old? New. It started in 2009. Remember, this government was created in 1066. Where in 2009 when this gets implemented? This is like brand spanking new, people. It's shiny. With that being said, de-evolution is taking power from the central government and giving it to regions or smaller governments. Okay? This is happening for the first time, and this is really what the Supreme Court is looking for.
Would that mean that, like, Prime Minister could get power to, like, the Queen or something?
No, because that's going the wrong way. The Queen technically, or the King, because the Queen's died. The King has more power than everybody right now, technically, but has no power, right? That's the hypocrisy of being King of England. It's like, for instance, Devonshire is in the northern part, and they have more sheep in Devonshire than they do by people times 3. So, not a very big population. The problem is Devonshire is very mismanaged because the people in Parliament have no idea how to run a local economy that's entirely based on sheep. So they're doing de-evolution, where they are giving Devonshire, which is a very small community with more sheep than people times 3, more autonomy to regulate their own little government that makes sense for them instead of a bunch of, people in London who have no idea what a moment in Devonshire looks like. Doesn't that make sense? Hello? Taking power from the central government to give to local governments is the major focus of the Supreme Court. And it's a big deal that they're dealing with. Okay? So, I cannot stress enough, you have to know that the UK does not have a constitution. It does not have one definitive law code. It does not have one central document. It is very much an evolution of thoughts. All right, political parties. Here we go. Your political parties. You need to know that these are in spectrum. These are in order. This is in ranking of popular to unpopular. Largest to smallest. Okay, so the biggest party in Europe right now is the Conservative, or the Tories. You need to know that. You should know the term Tories from what? Come on, people. Yeah, from the American Revolution. If you were on Team England, you were called? Yeah. Okay, they're the center-right party. They're the closest to the Republicans that we have. Okay, they believe in small government. They believe in strong capitalistic ties. They're all about businesses, getting more power, those types of things. Labor Party is the second largest party. These two really go back and forth. When we're talking majority, minority, it's these two going back. Right now, it's the Conservative Party in power. However, the Labor Party has the power to go back and forth.
So there's Stella and Hope.
Oh, perfect. Can you tell me where they are? Just write down the first period for me. Okay, so the Labor Party, it's their center-left party, like our Democrats. I don't know if that helps. If it does, I'd write it down. Okay, you need to know they are used to be super left, but Tony Blair, and you need to know that name. Tony Blair makes them more center. Who is he? What title do you think he is? Prime Minister. Tony Blair is a huge deal, ladies and gentlemen, and you have to know his name. He is going to make the Labor Party powerful. The Labor Party is now the second most powerful, and sometimes first. You are the best. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What?
If Tony Blair made them powerful, is he part of the Labour Party?
Yes.
And why
Yeah.
did, like, the previous Prime Minister become powerful?
Because Tony Blair makes him super stable. Tony Blair is the person in charge when Princess Diana dies. So, or 91, 92. So he's a newer figure in the prime ministership, and he's the guy who's dealing with like the chaos after Princess Diana's death, where the monarchy takes a massive hit, and he pulls more power to the prime ministership. That is a huge component. Then you have your liberal Democrats, okay? They are going to move away from New Labour, okay? So, then you have your regional parties, like Wales and Scotland, and then you have your UK Independence Party. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you're only going to learn two, which ones do you have to know? Conservative Tories and Labour Party. Those are the two you have to know. Like non-negotiable, like Democrat Republicans. That's how politics in England is discussed. Are you a Tory or are you a Labour? Okay? Your Labour Party is like your Democrats. They believe in the working person. They believe in better wages. They believe in less taxes on the poor, more taxes on the wealthy, those types of things. Very similar conversational points here in the United States mirror what is happening in the UK. Okay, your Independence Party, Nationalist, Anti-EU, obviously they are going to be pretty influential for a little bit because who's out of the EU? UK. Okay, so you're going to see as that kind of goes. You also have the Green Party, which is also here in the United States, as we kind of go. All right, I'm done because that's as far as we got in my other class.